Hi guys, today we are going to talk about the last two pages of the notes. They are numbered 6 and 7. I know that the page numbers didn't exactly start with 1. You should, by the end of this week, have notes that start on page 4 and end on page 7. It's actually part of a book that I pulled out, and that's why the numbers don't start at 1. So today we're going to talk about what to do when you don't know what to do. So you're taking the ACT and you get to a problem, a math problem, and you're looking at it and you're like, man, I just cannot remember how to do this. But you maybe can work your way through it either to eliminate some possibilities or possibly estimate the answer. Maybe you can just get enough out of the problem where you can up your chances of getting it right, as opposed to just random guessing. Keep in mind that random guessing will get you 1 out of 5 chance of getting it right, which is about 20% chance of just random guessing, which we will talk a little bit more about later. But as always, your first strategy to solving a problem on the math ACT is to just do the math like you know how to do the math, like your math teacher would have you do it in class. Just do it like you would to make them proud. If you don't know how to work the problem, then you've got to use some other options, and don't give up, I guess is the point of this. We're going to go through some strategies that you can use. A lot of it's common sense, but I'll also go through and help you out just a little bit, giving you some strategies that maybe you can use to help you work through some of the problems. Now, we will go through this more in depth next week, so don't worry about that right now. Today's just kind of an overview of some things some last minute tips that I can give you, but keep in mind we will go over this more in depth next week. Alright, well anyway, let's get started. It's right here, math question strategy. A, use mathematics. This is level 1 strategy. Okay, level 1 means this is the first plan of attack. If you remember how to solve a problem from your math class or this course, then solve it. Work the problem exactly like you would in math class. You don't need to show your work, but do not take shortcuts that you normally do not take. Work the problems on the ACT exactly how you have practiced. Why are you going to do that? Because you're going to practice like you play. Practice like you play. So important. Alright, once you have solved it, check your work. And make sure you've answered the question asked. A lot of times we get through to the bottom and we think we answered the question, but it was actually asking you to do something different with that answer. And so both answers might be a choice, so you have to be super careful. So make sure when you get an answer down at the bottom that you got the correct answer, the answer they were looking for. Alright, level 2. Use multiple choice strategies. Estimation, plug in numbers, and check the choices. All 3 of these methods we're going to work on next week in detail. Alright, so this is what you do when you don't know what to do. So estimation is our first one. We're going to just put a little box around that. Estimation, the ACT claims that pictures are not drawn to scale. However, it has been found that they usually are, or are very close. So when you do not know how to do the problem with mathematics, this is a great strategy. Another way to use estimation is to quickly eliminate unreasonable answers. Estimation usually eliminates 3 choices, and out of 5, that's pretty nice, okay, because now you've got a 50-50 shot at getting it right. The next one we're going to go through is plug in numbers. Okay, again, we'll do this one next week, really in depth. But plug-in numbers, this process is used for questions that have a lot of variables in them. And you're going to see some problems, some examples of those next week. And you have to find the relationship among them. Pick a variety of numbers. 0, positives, negatives, odds, evens, to plug in for each variable and work it out to find the relationship. All right, it's very necessary that you look at all case scenarios. All right, when you're starting to plug in numbers. But again, we're going to practice that next week. Lastly, check the choices. Since this test is multiple choice, you can work backwards by plugging in the answer choices until you find the correct answer. The downside to this strategy is that it is time consuming. Consuming. All right, this is not our favorite way to do it because it takes time. But to help you save a little time when you're plugging in your numbers or you're checking the choices, do not always start with choice A. Start with the middle value. All right, and go from there. So we're going to pick the middle value, and that will help us eliminate a couple of the choices. We'll practice that next week. All right, guessing. This is, oh my goodness, the worst case scenario. Let's say you can't work the math, you can't eliminate, you basically can't estimate, you've just never seen this stuff before. For a lot of you, it might be some upper level trigonometry questions. Maybe you've never taken trig class before and you get this crazy trig question you've never seen before. This is a level 3 random guess. On average, you will get 1 out of 5 or 20% correct. There is not a special letter to always pick. Just guess quickly and move on. The ACT people are smart. They distribute the correct answer choices evenly. So even on your very last, let's say you run out of time and you still have an entire column to go. So basically what I would do is I would just go through and random guess. So you pick a column and you just start bubbling in answers all the way down, just like that. You could go back and forth, but typically this takes a little time when you're bubbling in. They will give you a 5-minute warning at the end of the test, and at that 5-minute warning, it's probably best maybe finish up the last couple ones you think you know how to do, and then bubble in the rest of the ones on the test. Do not, whatever you do, do not leave any questions blank, ever. Not on any portion of the test. All right, some of the other, like the science, some of the other tests don't have 5 choices, so you actually have a better chance of getting it correct on a random guess. All right, let's talk about calculators real quick, and then we'll be done. Calculators on the math test are super important. You're going to want to use a calculator that you're extremely comfortable with. Do not borrow some friend's calculator the day of the test, even if you think it looks fancier than yours. Why? Why would you not do that? All right, because you're not used to it. You're not used to that calculator, and you don't want to have to look for buttons when you're really pushed for time. Keep in mind, you've got 60 questions in 60 minutes you've got to get through. All right, make sure your calculator has fresh batteries. All right, or bring a backup calculator. Sometimes they will not let you have both calculators out at the same time, but if something did happen, you could raise your hand and ask to get out a different calculator. So make sure you have a backup calculator when you go. All right, next thing, enter your information carefully. Okay, enter numbers carefully. Always make a habit of checking the calculator screen to ensure you entered the information correctly. Use mental math to estimate an answer to make sure the calculator's answer is reasonable. Well, if you get an answer that's huge, like, for example, if you're supposed to find out how many hot dogs this person ate and you come up with 1,050, then that's not really reasonable. People don't usually eat 1,050 hot dogs, and so you would know that that answer is not reasonable and know to work it again. All right? It's so easy to enter numbers into the calculator incorrectly. Remember, though, the calculator is only as smart as the person using it. So if you don't know how to use the calculator, you don't know how to put numbers in, it's not going to be able to tell you what the answers are. All right, D, know how to use your calculator properly, especially know the fraction key. Where is the fraction key? If you're not good with fractions, especially. Know how to use parentheses, order of operations. Practice doing some order of operations problems. You can look those up on Google. You can look them up anywhere. Just practice doing a few of them. You can go to khanacademy.org and check some order of operations problems. So make sure that you know how to use all of these. Know where the exponent key is. Know where the root key is. All right, and use an ACT approved calculator. All right, you can go to their website, type in ACT approved calculators, and there's a list of calculators there you can go through and just check to see if yours is on it, if you're worried about it. I will tell you that the TI 30X2S is certainly okay, and the TI 84 is another wonderful calculator. So of those two, those are the most typical calculators I see, so those are definitely fine. Calculators are very helpful, but they do not solve every question. If you do not know how to work a question, don't waste time playing with it on your calculator. All right. The next page of notes is just a chart, honestly, that just summarizes everything that we've been talking about. This is how to answer an ACT math question. So you're going to go through, it's like a flow chart. Read the question slowly and think about it. All right? From there, after you've read it slowly, do you remember learning this material? If so, do I know how to solve it? We're going to go through the whole process of solving it. Do you not remember learning this material? My goodness, it's totally Greek to me. I've never seen this before in my whole life. Just guess. Guess quickly, move on. All right, but let's say we do. We do remember. I remember slope. I remember y-intercept. Maybe I don't remember how to write the equation of a line, but gosh, I remember doing something like this. So, do I know how to solve it? Yeah, man, I'm good. I got this puppy. So we're going to, yes, solve it and check it. Oh man, I don't remember how to do it. I just can't think. So if you don't, then go, is there another strategy that I can use? Maybe, let's see if I can't weasel my way an answer here. So if there's another strategy, you've got 3 strategies. All right, and you're going to have to use one of those, and since we're going to practice all 3 of these next week, you'll be good at picking the one you need. Do I need to use plug-in numbers? Do I need to estimate? Or do I need to check the choices? This will become second nature to you. All right, this is not something that you need to memorize, because as soon as you see the problem, you will naturally just take a path to solve it. So we're going to practice those next week. Make sure that you've got these notes kind of handy next week. You can kind of refer back to them. But other than that, that's it for today. And if you have any questions, I'm only an email away. We'll see ya.